All right. Hello, everyone. Sorry to have our backs to all of you, but we're looking at the screen. So I'd like to call to order the Community Preservation Committee meeting for January 5th, 2026. First order, open the meeting, and then hopefully you all saw the minutes, and Brooke did amend the minutes for some of the comments that we received back on a couple of mix-up on who was present and some comments. So we did strike the comments that you mentioned. Steph, we added you and corrected. So I think given the corrections, any other questions, or do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Those comments that you made were removed, Marjorie? Were there other comments?
I believe Chris Kelleher is still marked as having been present, but she was not.
Oh, okay, I thought that was changed. One additional change would be to remove Chris Kelleher from that meeting. She was not at that, which she hardly ever misses, so that I think.
I think David just got Chris's mixed up.
Mixed backwards, that's right.
Jim, if that's the case, then we need to clarify who Member Kelleher stated a lot of things in the minutes. So
You were very chatty.
awfully. So I wonder if that was supposed to be Chris Allen, where
That was.
instead of Kelleher,
That should have been.
and they just got the Chris's mixed up.
That's what, I'm sure that's what it was. He had you two
Okay.
Chris's mixed up.
So with no objections, I'll amend my motion to approve the minutes with replacing Member Kelleher with Member Allen. Are you good with that? Sure. Okay.
Great,
So we're
thank you, Mark.
attributing you on all of these.
Great, what did I say?
All right, and do I have a second?
Second?
Member Kelleher,
Okay.
all of these.
All those in favor? That is unanimous. All
It
right.
was, I did raise my.
So we'll move on then to the review of the final applications. You'll notice we had five first applications we had approved, but Jen was able to get separate funding for the Piccadilly Bridge. So that has been removed. And so we have four projects at this time. First, if we could bring up the application for the Bowman Conservation Area, the infrastructure improvements. And this, again, we've seen these in the past, but this gave the details. And I think it was pretty straightforward in this case. Some of the work had been done, but we had not yet had the railings and ropes that needed to be added, and this is completing that project. There was detail given and a number of photographs of the site that had showed the work to date, and then some samples of the rail. And so if we could scroll down to that part, as we know, this was under rehab and restoration of the recreation. I think that you've all had the chance to read this. And if we could go down to the photos, Brooke, at the end that shows the actual work, that would be terrific.
I'm doing that, Jim, so.
It's I think on 13 or 14.
It's not, okay. Sorry, don't get sick.
A little bit further. 12, I think it's page 12 or 13. Or 14. There we go.
Okay.
So these are the existing steps that were done already. As you can see, as the notes made, there, it's quite steep, and the desire is to add the rope and post handrails. If you move down to the next, one or two down, there's examples of the actual rails and posts, I think, that had been done at a prior area. This is just some of the work and the restoration that needs to be, there they are there. So there's examples of what it will look like when these are completed in that area as well. The cost, as we saw before, was quoted at $25,500. Any questions from the committee while we have Jen here? I think it was fairly straightforward in this case, but any questions anyone had? No questions?
No.
All right. That means you did a good job in the presentation. All right. Thank you very much. Hope you're feeling better quick. All right.
Jim, are we voting on these individually?
Well, I think it might make sense to vote them as we go, as opposed, we can do it, or we can do it as a slate, but I have no problem with taking them each at one at a time. The committee fine with that?
Well, they're going to be separate warrant articles, right?
They will be separate warrant articles.
We should probably make individual recommendations.
I think that's a good idea.
I'll-
I would agree.
Do you want a motion then?
I would love a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the Bowman Street improvements, to recommend that town meeting fund the Bowman Street improvement, conservation area improvements through the CPF, Community Preservation Fund.
Second that.
All right, well, it was a tie on the second, so this time we could just go with Christina as second. All those in favor? That is unanimous. All right, great. Brooke, I forget which one you had second on there.
Oh, I did it. Okay. Let's see.
So that was, I think we saw, this was the documentation supporting this from
Okay.
the conservation
Yep.
on here. And so we've already approved that, so I think we can move on to the second request, if we could. Oh, you're doing that, Julia,
Yeah.
sorry. I thought Brooke had it down
I
there.
am not-
I'm asking the wrong person,
This
sorry,
isn't my
Julia.
computer, so I apologize if I'm a little clunky.
All right.
You coming to the rescue?
Yes, ma'am.
There we go.
If you just go back in here.
Perfect.
So the Hastings is second.
Perfect. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Great. And I think we have some folks from the school. Yeah, here we are over here. So again, as we had seen in the initial application for Hastings, this is a project at the Hastings School replacing the playground, $800,000 total, but $650 was coming from Capital Allocation Committee, I believe. Yeah, and so they're looking for 150 here. This was under rehab and restoration in this case. And what we did determine, as we had calculated last time, in that the number of hours out of school, after school and weekends, they were well under that percentage, and we were comfortable that the amount they were requesting was prudent for us to fund. Any particular comments that you'd like to make on this? I think the application was pretty thorough. Anything additional that would not have been included here, or further comments? Okay. All right.
I'd like to just say that I was impressed by not only documenting how many school children would be using this playground, but how many children live in the area who could walk down with their families to use this playground. And I think that piece of information was an added one that really enhanced the application.
I thought also, the support from the other groups that use the fields here, and particularly would like to have this opportunity when there's kids attending those different events to be able to play. That struck me as, what we're trying to accomplish here is things that impact as many people as possible. And those other uses, I found that to be appealing myself. So I think we had letters of support you all saw from the school committee, the parents group, as I was alluding to, the youth and football, and the civic club as well. And then any other supporting documents. Particular questions anyone had?
I have a question.
Christina, go ahead.
I don't know if we need
I think that would be great.
my question is just that, if this, I can't recall, if the rest of the required funds for the playground are not approved, this just sits, right, until they are, correct? Okay.
That is correct. So that, obviously you're not going to be able to move forward without those other funds. So that is correct. These would stay in the fund
Okay.
At that point if those were not approved. Now that would be, a separate article. So our article,
Right.
Both articles would have to be approved for the monies to be spent on the project.
Yeah.
They'll both be on the March one.
That's correct.
They will both be
Oh,
on the
they'll
warrant.
both have to be approved. So if the other one's not, then this one doesn't get.
Well, the other one would be approved by the committee like we're doing, but
Right.
but then presented for vote at the town meeting, just like ours will. So both would have to get approved at the town meeting for the project to move forward.
I guess for the project to move forward, but do the funds get held? Or do we decide, like, if it doesn't?
No, if they don't get the other funds, then the funds would stay in the CPA and be available. And
Okay.
they could
Well,
try
no,
again.
we'd have to be careful. It depends on how if we do an article for just the 150, and then they do a separate article for the 650 minus
Right.
whatever grants they get. My guess is they're gonna do one article, and the source of funding will be 150 from CPA, 500
Okay.
from
Got it.
free cash or raise and appropriate.
Okay.
Well, they're looking for grants for part of it, so I'm just speculating, whether the Rotary gives them a grant or not. But my guess is they'll do one article, but if it's separate articles and they just do one article for the CPA funding, and that gets approved and the rest doesn't, then that's earmarked for that, and we would have to go back to town meeting and get that rescinded.
Right.
But my assumption is they're going to do one article for the whole project.
Good.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Might I have a motion on this then, from someone?
I'll motion to approve $100 from CPC
Second.
money.
All right. All those in favor?
Can we just revise it to recommend the town meeting approve, because we don't actually approve anything?
Right.
Recommend, sure.
Sorry,
All right.
semantics. I know.
Sounds great. All right, so I didn't get the whole vote, so once again, all those in favor? All right, and that is unanimous. Thank you. Thank you for coming. All right, Julia, back to the
Okay.
number
Let's see
3,
if I
which
can
I
do this
think was the cemetery, but I can't remember.
Brooke?
Sorry, Brooke. Getting your workout. That
It
is what it is.
doesn't have the back when we put it up.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Capital allocation.
Cemetery.
There we go.
And they should have finished their work. All right, number 3 here is from historical preservation for the Midland Cemetery restoration. Again, we had seen information on this. Marjorie's talked to us all about this at length and given us quite a bit of information on this. I think we have some other folks here as well from the group. And so this is under historic resources and rehab, obviously, with the objective of working on roughly 50 stones in the Midland Cemetery that they've identified as the highest priority out of, I think, another 250 that need work, right? But this will get the 50 highest priority done that were listed in their presentation. It was kind of fascinating to see some of those names, and their and remember.
Those names are still here.
They are still here. It's quite remarkable.
They're above ground.
So this is $100,000 to get to the top 50 priority stones and one obelisk, right? Did I say that correctly?
Yep.
At the cemetery for the work hopefully to be done over the next 2 years. And so fairly straightforward. I don't know if there was any questions from the committee on this. Yes, no?
My only question, I think this is wonderful. I'm curious, and I don't know if there's any who might be here to represent this one, but, okay. And so I guess, I think it would be, I guess I'm just curious how we might be able to share this with the town outside of town meeting. I just think a lot of people will understand and appreciate, especially as it's like the first year where we're recommending that some of the funds are spent. So, and you might not have the answer now, but I just think that there's probably a big opportunity to involve the town or make the town aware.
Maybe we can ask Community Advocate if they'd be willing to do some
That would be
type of
great,
article
yeah.
on, here's a Westborough, Westborough's tapping into CPA funds for the
I
first
think
time, and
that's
here's
great.
what the committee's recommending.
Yeah, awesome,
Maybe they can interview Jim and
cool.
Julia.
That's a good idea, or even a flyer
Some quotes.
to
Christina,
share
was
to like social media pages.
Chris, by the way?
Yes.
Good. I mean, I knew that, but I'm Christina, and you're going to be Chris. Okay. Did you mean in general, as far as the various projects we are recommending to get information to the public, or are you talking specifically about Midland Cemetery?
I do wonder in general, but my question here was mostly about Midland Cemetery.
Right.
More specifically.
Okay, both Margie and I are on the Historical Commission, and I've done various tours of cemeteries in town, particularly Memorial, but I think it's very apropos if Margie and I wanted to do a tour of Midland Cemetery and not only show the stones that do need repair, but highlight perhaps if we had some Revolutionary soldiers, or as you're saying, names that are still
Yes.
well-known in town.
Yeah.
People are fascinated by cemeteries, but they kind of need a little push to get to
Sure.
have a tour. So perhaps Community Advocate could help us put
Promote
together and publicize a tour of some sort if we want to do that before town meeting.
Because Chris, the schools tour them too. Hi, everyone. It's Colleen.
Hi.
The schools use the cemeteries as part of, the elementary schools use them as part of their curriculum.
Right, do they do
Yeah.
Midland?
Yeah.
I know they do Memorial.
Well, maybe they would if, you could show you could almost have some before and afters as
I
they
think
get
that's,
through their
the
curriculum.
before and after is intriguing to me, because the work makes such a difference.
Yeah, I know that the schools have been to Memorial. I could be wrong, I wasn't aware that they went to Midland too. But
They go to
I
this
think
one
that
here, right?
That's Memorial.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the Puritans.
is less well-known, clearly. But it dates to 1810, so there are definitely Revolutionary War ties there, yep,
Amazing.
as well as
Which is kind of a secret cemetery in a way.
Yep.
A lot of people
hiding
don't
in
know.
plain sight.
Exactly.
Other comments or questions on this item? May I have a motion? Or I'll make a motion.
Jim.
Yes.
I'm not sure.
Just 100,000.
100,000.
Start saying it?
Oh,
No, go ahead, Chris.
I move that we recommend that the town approve $100,000 in CPA funding for the Midland Cemetery.
a
I'll second it.
Thank you. All those in favor? Mark, you in favor? Yes. All right, that's unanimous. Thank you, everyone. And then one more.
It's the little minus, let's see. Back arrow
Westborough TV.
up at the top,
Westborough TV.
top left,
You remember how she, yeah, just read back
There we go.
one.
the back arrow.
Back
There we
arrow.
go. There you go. Thank
There
you.
you go.
Yeah.
Nice, okay. All right. So we have another here, historic, I think as you're all aware, which is the rehab of the windows in the Westborough TV building. Another pretty amazing historical building in town. And I thought it was timely and intriguing that the folks are doing the library next door, so we have some pretty good experience with these people, and the ability to potentially save some funds by using some of the materials that are being used at the library to get this project done was terrific. I thought that was very thoughtful here. And so, again, I think pretty straightforward in terms of the desire, an effort here to get some funding from grants from various parties for some portion of the project, as we always love to see. Other comments or thoughts that people had on this? There was a number of letters of support here as well, as you all were able to see, I'm sure.
Address here.
33 West Main,
It is the 33.
Right here.
yes. We have some folks here from Westborough TV. Any particular thoughts or questions? I thought it was pretty well described here.
What if this gets into a lot more than just window replacement?
Well, there is additional work that they're planning to do that they're doing through their budget. But at the moment, this is only for the windows.
So having an old house, that once you could start doing windows or any work on the outside of surface of that could run into a lot more money. Just, they have some
Well-
kind of contingency for that if something like that happens.
Did you hear that comment?
Yes, we did not build, sorry, just speak loudly make sure the microphone's picked up. We did not build in a contingency when we gave you the number. We didn't know whether the committee preferred that we build that in or not. So we don't have a contingency built in. But our quotes do include things, to your point, about the scraping and repainting and woodwork and carpentry that might need to be done when they're removed, and the wrought iron grills that are on the windows. And so the quote does include those, and we do have some masonry work that we will be funding on our own. So we don't really anticipate there being issues like you might get with another project where all of a sudden, that's not currently what our expectation is. I think we've covered some of those, but we don't have a contingency built in right now.
Does anybody know if we can even fund a contingency?
Well, the contingency will be to stop.
Well, you would do,
Maybe the question is using, like, you've kind of given some thought to, like, it's not just about the windows, right? You've kind of looked at the building and said, yeah, and, okay, this project, you're likely gonna find a piece of wood that's rotted someplace, and that's
And that's
the estimate would include some of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that can grow bigger and bigger and bigger. I was just, concerned for that.
I think the nature of the building, that these windows will come out the way that they are. You're not opening up walls and things to do this kind of project, where you're pulling just the windows that are in they're in stone. So that helps.
Are they the weighted windows still?
Yes.
And they're going to keep that. Yeah, they're going to work on those.
Oh, okay.
So, Mark, I will say that I've done a whole bunch of these different approvals on the coalition website. I've never seen a contingency of that, so I don't know that we could do that.
I don't want to add a contingency for the fear that we won't be allowed to fund it, so.
Well, like I said, the contingency would be like
I
stock
think it's a
market,
question.
They would have to. I mean, we're going to fund a certain dollar amount, and that's the dollar amount.
Right, that's kind of on them at that point, right?
Okay.
I think it's a question we should investigate in the future if we do see a request for contingencies. And we're pretty, the initial application is pretty thoroughly reviewed to make sure
I
that
agree.
it's in compliance. So if we do see a request for something that includes a contingency, we'll have eyes on it to see if that's allowable under the Community Preservation
Well,
Act. But since it's not included in this, I think we're safe.
I
moving
agree.
forward with what they're asking.
There was just a question of the $20,000 that's put forth. Is that also a vote at town meeting, or is that it's in a budget to be raised, or that's in your budget? Okay. Okay.
Okay.
I forgot to ask you to stand and give us your name and address. Sorry, Karen.
Karen Anderson, 11 High Street.
Well, Brooke may not know who you are.
Okay, I'll move it if you're ready.
All right, go ahead. We have someone proposing to move. Any other questions before she does that?
Okay.
All right, please, go ahead, Chris.
I move that the Community Preservation Committee recommend that town meeting approve $147,900,
No, it's not the right amount.
127, that'd be much better. Okay, 127 from the Capital Preservation Fund.
Community preservation.
All right. This is so many CPCPs. From the
CPC if you want.
CPC is so much easier. I may start again. Anyway, that the CPC recommend that town meeting approve $127,900 from the Community Preservation Fund for the restoration of historic windows at 33 West Main Street.
I'll second that. I think I can second. All those in favor? Unanimous. Excellent. Thank you. All right, let me get back to my agenda here. All right, so I think that was the final submission to be reviewed and voted on. We will be creating warrant articles and working together with the coalition and Christie. We will also have our warrant article for the next fiscal year's contribution, which we will have, we have an estimate, an updated estimate from the state, but we will have that final number shortly. And so that will also be, so we'll have these 4 articles, and then our regular annual article approving the fiscal 26, fiscal 27, we're always a year ahead in these town meetings. Fiscal 27 contribution and accepting of the state match, which I expect will be in that $450,000 range, which will continue to fund and keep us well-funded in anticipation of next year's request, which is terrific. I do think that we should have a February meeting to be able to approve those articles and I should say recommend those articles and vote to recommend those articles. It should be a very brief meeting. So if we were to look at the first Monday in February, here, that would be.
Does each item go on as a separate warrant number?
Yes, they will.
Because they get voted on individually.
They do.
Right?
That's correct.
And from like a, description perspective, would it, could you scroll up? I don't, who's presenting?
Julie,
Julie is?
What
Julie,
was
could
that?
you-
just go up to the top
Just hit the-
of, for instance, this one.
Yeah, I just wanted to see
February
the
2nd.
top where we talk about the category.
It's hard to hear from you all the way down there.
No worries.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was long. It was a lot of information.
So down just a little, keep going, keep going, keep going. Oh, the category. I mean, I think it would be helpful, and maybe this is part of the ask of the community advocate. It would be nice to see like the diversity of the
Categories.
of the asks, right? That like we're taking into account, we're not too siloed or something like that. I think it puts it into perspective for people.
Well, and we will identify in the articles whether we're taking it from the specific buckets or the general bucket. And that there's a couple that will go over the individual bucket. We will have to do a little bit of both.
Yep.
And in doing so, that will also identify the fact that we are somewhat diverse in terms
I think that's a
of where
nice.
the areas that are being covered, which is
And
great.
if there's ever a time period where we're not, right, as a committee, we should challenge each other as to why that is. It could just be based on the types of applications being given.
Sometimes you don't get the request, right?
Right.
Like there's nothing from
But it's a nice start to this process anyways.
I agree. So that would be February 2nd, would be the first Monday in February, if we put that on for a tentative meeting date, so everybody has it for now. I would expect it should be fairly brief, but we do need to hold that for the purpose of reviewing those articles, and we'll try to get them out to you in advance of that meeting for your review.
Just going back on the various categories, we actually had just 2 categories, historic resources and recreational land, right?
That's correct.
Nothing
Nothing
under
from
open space.
affordable housing or open space.
So Jim, who tracks that spending? Is that the finance department?
Yes,
Okay.
they will.
So they'll let us know how much of, okay, we should
Yes.
get a report from them at some
We
point.
we
Just in
presented
case
that
this
at the
come-
last meeting, if you recall, what the
Right.
buckets were, and
But
so we will update that.
We should have those numbers ready in case somebody has that question at town meeting.
Yes.
I'll plan to have that. I mean, no question.
The other thing, Jim, I wanted to ask, and I've been talked about this at least one, if not more than one meeting, is some type of best practices on expenditures of funds, trying to balance smaller, important projects, but smaller projects with building the fund so that if a large ticket item comes, we have a substantial, amount in there to fund it.
Yes.
If necessary. So I just would love to have a discussion on that on the 2nd. And I'm trying to dig and find some information on what other towns are doing.
David was speaking with Stuart about an educational event for us, but I'm not sure where that ended up. So we will reinstigate, and start that again to see if, and I think that would be an opportunity to ask about that as well.
Okay.
So we'll follow up on, Brooke and I will work with Stuart again to see if we can get that. It might even be interesting to see if we could do a Zoom with him. If, in that there's not a large agenda, that we might have enough time that if he could join us, even online, we could ask some of these questions, but I could give him some heads up as to the nature of the questions that we've been discussing.
That leads me to my next question about replacing David. Is Brooke going to be?
Brooke, for the moment, she's got a lot of responsibilities, but they will be putting that opportunity back out to hire someone new.
Okay, and who, are we involved in that? Or is
That
it
is-
just the town
that-
manager?
I believe that is Fred.
Right, okay.
Fred, yep.
Okay, that's
I
fine.
spoke to him today, and he said he would be rapid.
Okay, I don't want to be involved in it, I just was
I'll
curious.
let him know you have plenty of time, but I think he'll handle it. Don't want that, for sure. So Len Brooke has been gracious and incredibly helpful. So I think for getting this work done with for town meeting, we're going to ask more of her, but she's been great. Other thoughts or questions for tonight? Any other business?
I guess, and I don't think I missed this, but, can we talk about tangible, kind of next steps town meeting? So if someone's talking to the community advocate, what does that look like?
Yep, so I have a note here for sure that I will reach out to them. Happy to discuss the projects so that word is out. We will be working to get the articles drafted. That will be our immediate next steps, and so that we'll have those to you in advance of the next meeting. And then we will ask the different, with the presentations will be available. As you know, kind of a town meeting is typically like, if you don't need the presentation, let's save everybody's time. But I will ask the folks to be there. If the questions come up, I will likely be presenting the articles and would be able to give a pretty good outline, but I would expect that the folks will likely be here if they needed to answer any more thorough questions.
Okay.
I think that's,
So once the articles are drafted
they're going to be out.
and on the draft warrant, they'll go to the AFC and to the select board for presentations as needed.
Right.
And recommendations, and then I would assume that the individual applicants would be invited to those meetings by the chair if the chair felt that a presentation above and beyond what this documentation gives them, I would assume they would invite them.
Okay,
But I don't think
Right.
we would have to go as members of the committee.
Sure.
They've already asked if I would go to the finance
Yeah, I
committee,
guess-
so I will.
that's helpful. I guess my question is more, how are we communicating, like, what these funds are? I know we voted on them a few years ago, we've been paying into them, but I wonder if there's, before any of the articles come up, I wonder if there's like an opportunity to have just like a quick, like an overview presentation, not to sign you up for another.
That would
Refresher on like what it is and.
would certainly be my intent to get that across in any article that the
Okay.
applicant would write, Christine, for sure. And then I think that my intent would be to bring that up, at the start of the first article. I mean,
Sure.
I expect these will all be in a row and maybe what we'll do is, I'll talk to Christie about it, but maybe we put the approval for the next year's funds up first, because that would give me an opportunity to refresh for
Explain.
people what it is.
Sure.
And then say, and by the way, we'll be presenting.
But if the school, if Hastings is part of the broader Hastings playground, if it's like a line item from that, I guess, I don't know if there, like, maybe we can just make sure sequentially it makes
Well, the
sense.
playground won't be a line item in the school budget. It'll be a separate warrant article.
Sorry, no, not in the school budget, but I think you had said, or my understanding was that there would be an article for Hastings Playground,
I
and
think-
this would be within that.
What we could just ask Christie in her state of the town finances to do a little
Okay.
bit of a background and, just to say, hey, this is the first time we're using CPA funds, just to remind everybody this is what it's for.
Great.
If Jim wants, he could do a separate presentation, but he'd probably have to ask the town moderator for permission on that.
Okay,
But I think we could even ask just Christie to, a paragraph or something in her presentation on the state of the finances.
Okay.
Well, and I think what's important here too is even with like the finance committee, like, they're not voting to approve this money. We already have this money. So it's very different in that everything, that, they're recommending should people support these things because the money, we're raising the money or we're taking the money from somewhere. These funds are here already and they are for these things and we're authorized to approve these things. And that is a differentiator. And so I do want to remind people of that.
Why do you need to appear before AFC?
Well, we're in the middle of that discussion.
Okay, I misunderstood. I thought we were now saying that they have to pass through town meeting.
This is all that has.
They do have to pass through town, the town does still have to approve, and they either say yes or they can reduce them, these requests if they
Okay.
chose to. They can't raise them or ask for more, but I'm going to make it very clear that these monies are already here. This is what these
Yeah.
monies are for.
I guess-
We're not raising any new monies or going out for any new bond issuance or
Yeah.
anything like that.
I guess what I'm trying to get ahead of is the last few town meetings, just even when there isn't new money, the failure to pass shifting money around for different projects. Right, so I guess that's what I'm trying to kind of get ahead of, and how we can
Yeah.
mitigate for that.
Yeah. In my experience, I think that going to the Finance Committee makes sense just to keep people informed. And therefore, there won't be questions coming out from different places that you don't expect.
Well, they've also asked if I would come to the budget summit.
Sure.
And present on what we're doing, but again, it's not a budget item.
Right.
Which-
I guess I'm not as concerned with like the finance committee agreeing, but just with the general vote.
Understanding that. No, That's a great point.
And also, usually people are very happy to approve funds if they know that those funds exist for a particular reason, that most
Yeah, I feel
people-
like recently we have not. Recently we have.
She's been doing enough town meetings.
Yeah.
Well, I've only got 50 years of town meetings, but essentially, I think that it's much easier than getting them from anywhere, that these have been set aside. There's always a discussion on whether these should be approved or not.
And that this whole thing was, this is not coming down through the town. This is the state says, you can have this money. You can collect this, and here's what you could spend on. So, people objecting what the town is doing. Well,
Well, the town did approve this.
yes, yep,
This.
but the framework
Comments or
comes
questions?
from the state, and that could be the answer. Yeah.
But I just
Okay.
wanted, based on the discussion, I know you're looking at the timeframe, so I think it's a really good point that it's the first time we've been through this as a town.
Yep.
We voted for it, but it's been a couple of years.
Yep, there will be a lot of questions.
And there are questions about process and what it all means, and so in addition to a committee having the article, I do think it might be a good idea to put together some kind of presentation, maybe we can work with you on a Jim to get a video put together that explains it. And, you even play that at town meeting, so you're not going to go to these areas, maybe we put something together where, if you come to the studio, we can make it clear to people, here's the process, here's what's happened, and by the way, here are the 4 things we'll be voting on today.
That's a great idea.
That as a service.
I love that idea, yeah, I love that idea, and even if we could get it before the town meeting, it would be easier.
I think that's great. Appreciate that. We'll take you up on that for sure.
When you had the project.
I think we should also let people know how much we've collected and what portion is being used, because we're not using up every penny. There's still a good portion saved, and so people know that there's still more money that we just haven't spent down. Every penny that we've received, I think that's important to know how much is in the bucket.
I agree.
Okay.
Well received.
I think the point is we don't want it to get, the concept to get mixed in with, and I don't even really want to use this word, but I'm going to, free cash, like that is like,
Right.
that has nothing to do with this.
Okay. Great comments. Other comments prior to adjournment?
No, and maybe just also the history of how we've been meeting for almost a year and a half now, and that we have been, these applications have come forward and not all of them did meet the standards. I think that's important too. We just didn't say yes to everything, that there were some that didn't meet the standards and they were refused.
Okay. I think that's something we can do in that, is talk a little bit about that process, indeed, and how it works, and as we continue to improve the process, to your comments, Mark. All right, I would ask for a motion to adjourn then.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second? All those in favor? Thank you so much, everybody.